Did you know that the Philippines was once on the brink of true freedom, only to have it stolen by another powerful nation? Imagine this. After 300 years under Spanish rule, the Filipinos finally had a chance to be free. But just when they thought independence was theirs, a new enemy arrived, the United States. What started as a fight against Spain suddenly turned into a brutal war against America. A war that was supposed to be quick, but turned into one of the bloodiest conflicts in history. A war that no one talks about today. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see history forever. In 1898, after years of struggle, the Filipinos had finally defeated their Spanish colonizers. Their leader, Emilio Aguinaldo, declared independence. For the first time, the Philippines had its own flag, its own government, its own future. But what the Filipinos didn't know was that behind closed doors, Spain had secretly sold the Philippines to the United States for $20 million. Yes, you heard that right. The entire country bought like property. When Aguinaldo and his people found out, they were furious. They had just fought for their freedom, only to be handed over to another foreign power. But the U.S. had no plans of leaving. Tension rose quickly. American soldiers started taking over Filipino territories, setting up bases as if they owned the land. The Filipinos, still hoping for diplomacy, tried to negotiate. But the Americans ignored them. Then on February 4th, 1899, everything changed. In the dark of night, near Manila, a shot rang out. An American soldier fired at a group of Filipino troops. Bang! Just like that, war began. What was supposed to be a war for independence became a war of survival. And the U.S., they were determined to crush the Filipino resistance. No matter the cost, the Filipino army was brave but outmatched. They had old rifles, little training, and no real resources. The Americans? They had modern weapons, warships, and tens of thousands of soldiers. But here's the shocking part. The Filipinos fought back hard. They used guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and jungle warfare. They knew the land better, and they made every bullet count. The Americans had power, but the Filipinos had heart. Yet, the U.S. refused to lose. And so, they used brutal tactics to break the resistance. This was not just a battle, it was a massacre. The U.S. military began a brutal campaign of burning villages, torturing prisoners, and killing civilians. General Jacob Smith, one of the most infamous figures in this war, gave an order so horrifying, it sent chills down history's spine. He told his troops, "Kill everyone over 10 years old." Yes, you heard that right. If a child was 10 years old or older, he was considered an enemy. This war was no longer just about conquest. It had turned into something much darker. Before we continue, if you're shocked by this hidden part of history, hit that like button and share this video with your friends. This is a story that deserves to be told. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten history. Now, back to the story. But the Filipinos did not go down without a fight. One of the most epic and bloodiest battles took place in Balangiga, a small town in the Philippines. The Filipinos launched a surprise attack on U.S. troops, killing over 50 soldiers, one of the worst defeats the U.S. suffered in the war. In response, America unleashed hell on the town. They burned Balangiga to the ground. Thousands of innocent people were slaughtered. The destruction was so severe that Balangiga's church bells, yes, the very bells from their churches, were taken as war trophies. By 1901, Aguinaldo was on the run. His forces were getting weaker. Many of his best generals had been captured or killed. Then the worst happened. On March 23, 1901, Aguinaldo was tricked. American forces disguised themselves as Filipino prisoners, got close to his hideout, and captured him. The leader of the Filipino resistance was now in chains. And with that, the dream of independence was fading fast. After Aguinaldo's capture, the war dragged on for another year. Filipino forces kept fighting, but without their leader, their hope was crumbling. By 1902, the U.S. declared victory. The Philippines was now officially an American colony. The war was over, but the suffering was not. More than 200,000 Filipinos died, most of them civilians. Many from disease, starvation, and massacres. A war that should have never happened left a scar that still lingers today. Even after the war ended, the Philippines remained under U.S. control for decades. It wasn't until 1946, after World War II, that the country finally gained its true independence. But here's the sad part: the world barely remembers this war. Unlike the American Revolution or the Civil War, the Philippine-American War is rarely talked about. It's been buried in history books, forgotten by most, and yet its impact shaped the Philippines forever. So why does this story matter? Because it's a reminder that history is not always what it seems. A reminder that power often writes the story, and the truth gets lost. But we must not forget, the brave men and women who fought for freedom deserve to be remembered. And the world needs to know what really happened. If this story opens your eyes, share this video with others. Let's bring this hidden history back to life. And if you want more untold stories like this, subscribe now, because history isn't just about the past. It's about understanding who we are today.